in Peru and Colombia. I'm just back actually from a successful bilateral visit to Colombia where I met with a number of key stakeholders from civil society and labor unions, as well as with the bankers and government leaders, and engaged them in dynamic discussions regarding the free trade agreement, their concerns, and their aspirations. We exchanged frank views and expressed our support for the efforts of the Uribe government to improve the personal security situation of citizens and for the government's ongoing efforts in the area of human rights. All is not perfect yet in Colombia, but we believe there have been significant improvements in terms of violence, in terms of the dismantling of the paramilitaries on one side, and the effective use of government security instruments against guerrilla forces. There are still human rights concerns, but we believe there have been advances, and we believe that friends support friends when they have the courage to take these, to meet these challenges. I met with President Uribe and his Foreign Minister Bermudez, and we discussed Canada's active role in support of peace, security, and human rights. And we agreed to establish regular human rights consultations to discuss areas of shared interest and shared concern. And I must say that I admire the courage of President Uribe in risking not only his government but his life to improve the situation in Colombia. In meeting with all of these different stakeholders, I highlight that the FTAs for both Peru and Colombia are accompanied by labor cooperation and environmental agreements, unlike treaties that have been negotiated recently with the European countries. They include strong provisions to ensure that increased business does not come at the expense of workers or the environment. And we look forward to using these as templates in all of our current negotiations and future FTAs with other countries. Our government strongly believes that open trade and fair investment can play a really positive role in communities large and small around the world, which is why we also recently announced new initiatives to support responsible practices for Canadian businesses abroad. The government's corporate social responsibility strategy includes a series of new measures to help our mining and oil and gas companies meet and exceed their social and environmental responsibilities abroad. Although I've got to say that across the region, Canadian industries in the extraction sector are very often seen as models for companies from other countries. The new social responsibility strategy includes a series of new measures to help our folks as they continue current operations and as they open up exploration and development projects in areas where there is, to be fair, concern of regional populations. We're also creating a new consular office to help resolve any issues that arise between Canadian companies and the communities in which they operate. And that's another benefit of the free trade agreement as opposed to some of the previous FIPAs. There is better provision for dispute resolution and for protection of Canadian investment in countries which sometimes might wobble. We're supporting a new center of excellence outside government to give our businesses and other organizations a one-stop shop for the information and tools they need. And through the International Development Agency, CIDA, we're continuing to help foreign governments develop their own capacity to manage their natural resources responsibly and sustainably and profitably. We're continuing to promote internationally recognized voluntary performance and reporting guidelines for all of our businesses operating abroad. Canadian companies play an important role in bettering the lives of people and communities around the world, including the Americas, and they are creating jobs, prosperity, and opportunities. And thanks to initiatives like these, they're doing so in a responsible and a sustainable manner. In some cases, our resource companies, I was in Suriname not too long ago, IAMGold operates a mine there, and they are the largest single source of revenue to Suriname's GDP. And there are other governments, particularly with the price of gold where it is today, countries in the region are looking to replicate that sort of productive relationship. As I said, Canadian companies are wonderful ambassadors for Canada in the Americas, but at the same time we recognize that our foreign policy objectives can't be achieved without significant and improved representation by several of our government departments, Department of Foreign Affairs, Department of Trade, Immigration, of course, and CEDA. Our trade commissioners are active throughout the region, building trade, investment, and innovation links with our partners. And this includes an expansion of our services, for example, in Brazil, where our government is adding trade resources in Rio and Sao Paulo, and opening a new office in Porto Alegre, and expanding our mission in Recife to include trade resources. Export Development Canada also maintains a deep presence in the region, and our people are working closely with citizenship and immigration to address critical issues like visas and labor mobility. Indeed, keeping these human links strong between Canada and our partners in the region is absolutely critical, and we're taking the necessary steps to do exactly that, to ensure that Canada builds productive, prosperous relationships with our friends through the region. Just a little sidebar story. When I was in Guatemala 6 weeks ago, the trade minister remarked to me that the growing number, the thousands of Guatemalan workers, semi-skilled workers, who have been going to Western Canada to work in meatpacking plants, has grown 1,000 to 2,000, close to 3,000 now, and they expect that to rise by another couple of thousand. The relationship between the employers and the employees is so strong that a number of the employers from Western Canada went down to Guatemala last winter to better acquaint themselves with the cultural needs, with the dietary preferences, and to visit some of their workers in their communities. And Guatemala is a country that still has some security problems, but they went out of their way to strengthen and deepen those ties with those workers. Remittances are very important from both seasonal and full-time workers in Canada, in a number of countries of the Americas, particularly this year, where the economy is going down. So far, the remittances from industries like meatpacking, for example, or our seasonal crop harvesting here in southern Ontario still seems to be relatively strong. And in some countries, for example, El Salvador, remittances account for about 25% of GDP. So it is appreciated, and again, referring to those countries of the diaspora, the links and relationships between our countries are being beneficially strengthened as we go through this period. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, let me say, although I'm sure everyone in this room fully knows it, our economy was built on trade. Our jobs and our quality of life in communities like this great metropolis of Canada depend on it. And our ability to ride through the current economic storm is directly tied to our success of opening doors to commercial cooperation with partners around the world. And in my case, of self-interest in our neighborhood in the Americas. I'm here today to tell you that Latin America and the Caribbean are at the center of our efforts to help create opportunities for Canadians through and far beyond the current crisis. Let's work together to translate these opportunities into jobs and prosperity that will benefit us all. Thank you very much.